Welcome back. So starting out the week, the guys have been busy laying up the molds for these aileron skins. So here's the first one underway. That was the lower side, I believe, of the left one or right one. And Jeff's been busy working on the fuselage still, so he's bonded these aileron pulleys onto the main spar now, and they've been done on both sides. And he's working on prepping things for the hinges and stuff like that for the doors. And this is the pass-throughs there for the air conditioning lines, and you see he's got the gear thing bolted in there now through the hard points, and this is on the inside there. It's all been closed out and fit nicely, so that's all coming along. And that was most of Monday's efforts there, and a bunch of other things that don't have time to film everything. And this is Tuesday, so the guys are doing two more of these on Tuesday, so putting the lightweight layers on there, so the other lower one and one of the upper ones. And with the temperatures being a little bit cooler now, we've got to keep the shop warm, so this stuff sets up, because you can't go and put the heavy layers on the following day if it's not been cured properly on the first lightweight layers. So trying to keep the shop warm, but at the same time we've been running the engine, which you'll see in a second, and that cools down the shop because we have to move a bunch of air there, and you can see it over there in the background. But anyway, the guys are getting that one done, and on Wednesday we'll be onto the last of those four. So the rest of this update is going to be about the engine, so let me see if I can give you a rundown. Put the upper housing back together, even with the oil seals that are not holding the pressure that we have there from the governor. But I wanted to show you it running there so you can see the new instrumentation layout. And this is just letting it warm up here initially, come up to temperature before we run it up a little bit. And then here you can see we'll run it up. I'll let you listen to this for a little bit and just watch it, and then I'll have some more explanation about what's going on with it. Okay, so as you'll see here in a minute, we end up running it up to almost 3,000 RPM. But what's going on is that we've got the air compressor hooked up to it, and we really need about 320 psi or round about there to hold the prop at flat pitch. Otherwise, the counterweights on the prop will have it go to a coarse pitch, which obviously loads up the engine. Well, we only have 150 psi available on the compressor, so as soon as it got up to about 2,800 RPM, the prop started to come out of flat pitch, which started to load up the engine. And you'll see that here when you watch the boost gauges there, the red one and the orange one next to it there, turbo 1 and turbo 2. You'll see those start to sort of go up a bit here as it's trying to hold their 2,800 RPMs or so. And so right now, we can run the engine, but we can't get it up to any higher than 2,800 RPM because it's not building enough RPM to generate more boost, to generate more power. So the prop is basically, the harder we push it, the harder it pushes back. So anyway, so the solution is to get these new oil seals. Well, we called up because there's only one company that really makes the seals with the dimensions that we need, that has the ability to handle the pressures that we're looking at, and that's Parker. And unfortunately, it sounds like it's going to be like an 8-week wait. We have to buy at least 20 of them, and they're probably going to be about $100 each. So that's just an estimate from somebody I spoke to today, so it's probably out of the question. So what we're thinking of doing is, somebody had suggested us kind of hooking up the oil feed to the end of the back end of the prop shaft. And so Mark's just running through some calculations now, and just figuring out how we would do that, what bearings and seals and what it would actually look like, so we can use that as a technique for getting the oil into the prop. So it's going to take a little while to figure that out, but it's going to be less than the 8 weeks that we would have to wait if we ordered these other seals. So anyway, a bit of a stumbling block, but these things happen, and that's why we've got to work through everything on the prototype, and it just doesn't all happen overnight. But anyway, other than that, the engine is running fine and producing power, but as you've seen, we're not able to get enough RPM up to get the boost that we need before the props comes in and starts really loading it up. And the advantage of hooking up the oil feed to the back of the prop shaft is that we can use off-the-shelf bearings and seals instead of having to wait for stuff that's going to be a long time to order and special order and cost a lot of money. Anyway, here's the time graph of that run that I just showed you. And so here, if you look down the bottom there in the engine speed, that's marked there. That's when we made up to 2862 RPM. And up the top there, the boost got about 4 pounds of boost on turbo 1, so it's at 18.2. And the other one's at 26, the second one's at 26. And then, as you can see on the engine speed after that, it never got any higher than that. It just sort of leveled out and actually ended up going down to about 2600 and something. But you can see the boost up the top there is just building and building and building. So it's trying to develop power there, but the prop is just holding it back. And the fuel flow number that you see there is probably not accurate yet because it hasn't been characterized correctly in the ECU. It may be an indication of what we're having, but it may not. And now you can see the marker at the end of the run, and as you can see there, if you look down the bottom at the throttle pedal, I was adding more and more throttle until I actually hit 100% throttle there, trying to compensate for the load that was coming from the prop, but the RPM never managed to creep up anymore. And if you look up the top of the boost there, the first turbo is at 20.5 pounds, so it's got 6 pounds of boost on it, and that set up to have a maximum of 10, and because it couldn't spool up anymore, it couldn't get the last 4 pounds of boost. But the second turbo right now is set up to have 21.5 pounds maximum, and you can see actually it's peaked out there. The last little section it leveled out, so 21.5 over the top of 14 gives us basically 36. And the wastegate had opened up there, and so that wasn't able to develop any more boost either. And I'm actually going to make an adjustment to how it's been plumbed and allow us to get a little bit more than that. But the fact that we weren't able to get any more boost out of the first one, and the second one was also had the wastegate open, and we weren't able to build any more RPM to develop boost because of the load coming from the prop that just was ever increasing. It just couldn't get any more power. So the solution is that we need to get this governor thing sorted out before we can really start doing some good runs on the engine. But anyway, I'll let you have a look at a separate run that we did from the left side of the engine so you can see how that looks. So if you look there on the top of the prop housing there, we've got the airline hooked in there just with a ball valve to provide the pressure we need. And you see the prop is at flat pitch right now because the counterweights don't have any sort of centrifugal force on them to make it turn until the prop's spinning. And once it starts up here, you're going to see a little bit of buffeting, and what was happening was there's a bit of a breeze outside, and every now and then it would sort of come in the door while we're running, and it would cause the whole thing to sort of go back and forth. But anyway, I'll let you sit and watch this for a little bit. see the wind is affecting the stand a little bit there. We do have it bolted to the floor with a couple of anchor bolts just on the back end there towards the prop, but nothing on the other end just yet, because it is a pusher and it is just trying to push it down onto the floor, but when a breeze comes in there it kind of affects it and makes it rock a little bit, but it seems to be stable enough, and we don't see it being a big problem. And people have asked about us putting a bit of a guard around there. It's pretty difficult to walk close there because you've got those two concrete steel posts there that are either side, but once we actually start running on a regular basis, I'm going to be probably the only one there, and I'm going to be spending most of my time in the office and just monitoring it remotely, and we're only going to be running it on weekends and at night time anyway, with most of the shop closed, so no one else will be able to get in there, and you can't really climb up on that loading dock when it's running, so I'm not too worried about it. But we will have a little bit of maybe just a cargo strap or something across it to stop anybody sort of inadvertently walking anywhere near the prop. Anyway, so good progress on the engine so far, and still more tuning and stuff that needs to be done as things move along. But we do have to get this governor thing sorted out, and I'm not sure how long that's going to take. We could get it sorted out in a couple of weeks. But anyway, so that's where we stand with that, and the rest of this week I'll be switching over to starting work on some of the wiring harness for the avionics, and the guys will be working on finishing off those molds for the aileron stuff. So anyway, that's our update for the first half of this week, and thanks again for watching.